Ever wondered what makes a star fall from the sky? How can someone who seems to have everything suddenly lose it all? Number 14. Amy Winehouse. Back to Black took on a whole new meaning when Amy Winehouse was found dead in her London apartment on July 23, 2011. The soulful singer with the beehive hairdo and distinctive voice had struggled with addiction for years, often making headlines for her erratic behavior rather than her incredible talent. At just 27, Winehouse joined what many call the 27 Club, a group of influential musicians who died at that same fateful age. The toxicology report revealed a blood alcohol level 5 times the legal driving limit. The world lost not just a voice, but a jazz-infused soul that had revolutionized British music. Her album Back to Black sold millions of copies after her death, cementing her legacy as one of the most talented singers of her generation. Fans gathered outside her Camden home for days, leaving flowers, bottles of vodka, cigarettes, and handwritten notes. Everyone knew Amy had problems, but somehow, even with all the warning signs, her death shocked the entertainment world to its core. The question lingered, could more have been done to save her? Number 13. Heath Ledger. Who knew the Joker's laugh would be silenced so soon? Heath Ledger was at the pinnacle of his career when he was found dead in his Manhattan apartment on January 22, 2008. The 28-year-old Australian actor had just completed his now legendary performance as the Joker in The Dark Knight, a role that would earn him a posthumous Academy Award. The medical examiner determined that Ledger died from an accidental overdose of prescription medications, including painkillers, anti-anxiety drugs, and sleeping pills. Friends reported that Ledger had been suffering from insomnia and stress while filming his intense roles. His death sent shockwaves through Hollywood, with many struggling to reconcile the image of the vibrant, talented actor with his sudden and unexpected passing. His daughter Matilda, just 2 years old at the time, lost a father who friends described as devoted and loving. Ledger's legacy lives on through his unforgettable performances, particularly his chilling portrayal of the Joker, which many critics consider one of the greatest acting performances in film history. The question that haunts fans to this day, what other incredible roles might Heath have brought to life if he had survived? Number 12. Whitney Houston. How does a voice that perfect just stop singing? Whitney Houston, the pop diva with a voice that could move mountains, was found submerged in a bathtub at the Beverly Hilton Hotel on February 11, 2012. The night before the Grammy Awards, the 48-year-old singer was preparing to attend Clive Davis's pre-Grammy party. The coroner's report listed drowning as the cause of death, with heart disease and cocaine use as contributing factors. Various prescription medications were also found in her system. Houston's story is particularly heartbreaking because she had been trying to stage a comeback after years of substance abuse had damaged her once pristine voice. The daughter of gospel singer Cissy Houston and cousin of Dionne Warwick, Whitney seemed destined for greatness from birth. Her 1992 film The Bodyguard and its soundtrack, featuring I Will Always Love You, broke records worldwide. Her death left her daughter Bobby Christina Brown devastated. Tragically, 3 years later, Bobby Christina would be found unresponsive in a bathtub in circumstances eerily similar to her mother's death. Fans worldwide mourned the loss of Houston's extraordinary talent, wondering if the pressures of fame and success had been too much for the voice to bear. Number 11. Philip Seymour Hoffman. Can someone be too good at portraying pain? Philip Seymour Hoffman was found dead in his Manhattan apartment bathroom on February 2, 2014, with a needle still in his arm. The 46-year-old actor had been sober for 23 years before relapsing in 2013, showing how tenuous recovery can be even after decades of sobriety. The medical examiner confirmed that Hoffman died from a toxic mix of drugs, including heroin, cocaine, benzodiazepines, and amphetamines. Hoffman was widely regarded as one of the finest actors of his generation, winning an Academy Award for his portrayal of Truman Capote and earning 3 additional nominations throughout his career. What made his death particularly shocking was that he seemed to be at the height of his powers, recently appearing in the Hunger Games franchise and receiving acclaim for his work in independent films. He left behind his longtime partner, costume designer Mimi O'Donnell, and their 3 young children. Fellow actors expressed not just grief but profound shock, as Hoffman had been known for his professional dedication and seemingly grounded personality. The question lingered in Hollywood: if someone as established and respected as Hoffman could fall victim to addiction, was anyone truly safe from its grasp? Number 10. Prince. How does a musical genius who avoided drugs for religious reasons die from an overdose? Prince Rogers Nelson, the purple-clad musical innovator, was found unresponsive in an elevator at his Paisley Park estate in Minnesota on April 21, 2016. The 57-year-old superstar died from an accidental overdose of fentanyl, a powerful synthetic opioid. What made Prince's death particularly shocking was his well-known clean lifestyle. As a devout Jehovah's Witness, he had avoided substances that many other musicians embraced. Investigations revealed that Prince had been suffering from severe hip pain for years, likely the result of his energetic performances in high-heeled boots. Rather than undergo surgery that might require blood transfusions against his religious beliefs, he apparently managed his pain with medication. Friends and family were stunned, having had no idea about the severity of his pain or his use of such powerful painkillers. The musical world mourned deeply, with buildings and landmarks around the world lighting up purple in tribute. His massive vault of unreleased music became the subject of much speculation and legal wrangling. Fans were left wondering if Prince, with all his resources and privacy, couldn't find safer pain management solutions. What hope did ordinary people have in navigating the dangerous world of opioid medications? Number 9. Michael Jackson. Can the King of Pop really die? The world seemingly stopped on June 25, 2009, when news broke that Michael Jackson had suffered cardiac arrest at his rented mansion in Los Angeles. The 50-year-old superstar was pronounced dead at UCLA Medical Center, shocking millions of fans who couldn't imagine a world without the moonwalking legend. Autopsy results revealed that Jackson died from acute propofol and benzodiazepine intoxication. The circumstances were particularly disturbing because propofol is a surgical anesthetic not meant for sleep aid, which Jackson had reportedly been using to combat insomnia while preparing for his comeback, This Is It tour. His personal physician, Conrad Murray, was later convicted of involuntary manslaughter for administering the fatal dose. Jackson had transformed music and dance forever with albums like Thriller and Bad, and had been preparing to reclaim his title as the world's premier performer after years of controversy and financial troubles. His 3 children, Prince, Paris, and Blanket, were left without the father who had fiercely protected them from the spotlight. The public memorial service at the Staples Center was watched by an estimated 1 billion people worldwide. Fans couldn't help but ask, had the pressure to perform one last time pushed the King of Pop beyond his physical limits? Number 8. Marilyn Monroe. How does America's most famous sex symbol end up dead alone in her bedroom? Marilyn Monroe was found dead in her Brentwood home on August 5, 1962, at the age of 36. The official cause of death was acute barbiturate poisoning, ruled a probable suicide. The stunning blonde bombshell had risen from humble beginnings to become the world's most recognized movie star, appearing in classics like Some Like It Hot and Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. Despite her public image of bubbling confidence and sexuality, Monroe struggled with depression, anxiety, and insomnia, for which she was prescribed numerous medications. Her death spawned countless conspiracy theories, some suggesting involvement from the Kennedy family with whom she allegedly had affairs. On the night of her death, her housekeeper reported seeing light under Monroe's bedroom door, but when she received no response to knocks, she called Monroe's psychiatrist, who broke into the room through a window and found her nude body on the bed, empty pill bottles nearby. Monroe's tragic end exemplifies the dark side of fame, adored by millions, yet ultimately alone in her final moments. Her brief life and mysterious death continue to fascinate more than half a century later, leaving generations to wonder, was it really suicide, an accidental overdose, or something more sinister? Number 7. Elvis Presley. Can the king really die on his throne? Elvis Presley was found unresponsive on his bathroom floor at Graceland on August 16, 1977. At just 42, the world's first true rock superstar was pronounced dead, officially from cardiac arrhythmia. However, toxicology reports revealed a cocktail of prescription medications in his system, including opiates, barbiturates, and sedatives. Elvis had been prescribed these medications to deal with various health issues, including glaucoma, high blood pressure, and pain from injuries. His personal physician, Dr. George Nishapoulos, often called Dr. Nick, later had his medical license suspended for overprescribing medications to Elvis and other patients. The once slim, hip-swiveling heartthrob had gained significant weight in his later years, further complicating his health problems. News of Elvis's death triggered worldwide mourning, with an estimated 80,000 people lining the streets of Memphis for his funeral procession. Graceland became a place of pilgrimage, with countless fans refusing to believe he was really gone, spawning a cottage industry of Elvis sightings that continued for decades. The king's death marked one of the earliest high-profile celebrity overdoses that raised questions about prescription drug abuse and the responsibility of doctors to their famous patients. Fans couldn't help but wonder, if the most famous man in the world couldn't get proper medical care, what hope did ordinary people have? Number 6. Judy Garland. What happens when the rainbow ends? Judy Garland, the beloved star of The Wizard of Oz, was found dead in the bathroom of her London home on June 22, 1969. She was just 47 years old. The coroner determined that she died from an accidental overdose of barbiturates, with no evidence of suicide despite her history of attempts. What made Garland's death particularly tragic was its predictability after decades of substance abuse that began when she was just a child star. MGM Studios had put the young actress on amphetamines to keep her weight down and barbiturates to help her sleep, a studio-sanctioned cycle of addiction that haunted her throughout her life. Despite her struggles, Garland was an extraordinary talent, known for her powerful voice and emotional performances in films like A Star is Born and Meet Me in St. Louis. At the time of her death, she was deeply in debt and had recently married her fifth husband. Her daughter Liza Minnelli, following in her mother's showbiz footsteps, was devastated but determined not to succumb to the same demons. Garland's funeral in New York drew thousands of mourners, and her death is often cited as one of the catalysts for the gay rights movement, as the Stonewall riots began just days after her funeral. The question lingers: how much of Garland's tragedy was self-inflicted, and how much was the result of a merciless entertainment industry that used and discarded her? Number 5. Chris Farley. How does someone so full of life end up so suddenly dead? Chris Farley, the boisterous Saturday Night Live comedian and movie star, was found dead in his Chicago apartment on December 18, 1997. The 33-year-old comedian had been on a 4-day binge of drugs and alcohol, culminating in an overdose of cocaine and morphine, eerily similar to the death of his comedy idol John Belushi. Farley had struggled with substance abuse and weight issues for years, cycling through rehab programs at least 17 times. Despite his problems, he had created unforgettable characters on SNL and starred in hit comedies like Tommy Boy and Black Sheep. Friends reported that Farley was deeply insecure despite his success, often using his wild man persona and substance abuse to mask his vulnerabilities. The night before his death, he had been seen at various bars in Chicago, visibly intoxicated and reportedly proclaiming, "I'm going to die just like John Belushi." He was found by his younger brother John, wearing only pajama bottoms, with rosary beads clutched in one hand, a poignant reflection of the conflict between his Catholic faith and his addictions. His funeral in Madison, Wisconsin, was attended by many of his SNL castmates and comedy colleagues like Adam Sandler and David Spade, who were devastated by the loss. Fans were left wondering, could the same things that made Farley so brilliant on stage, his manic energy and willingness to do anything for a laugh, have contributed to his tragic end? Number 4. River Phoenix. How does a vegan environmental activist die from a drug overdose? River Phoenix collapsed outside the Viper Room nightclub in West Hollywood on October 31, 1993. The 23-year-old actor, known for his roles in Stand By Me and My Own Private Idaho, died from a combination of cocaine, heroin, marijuana, diazepam, and ephedrine. What made Phoenix's death particularly shocking was the disconnect between his public image as a clean-living, socially conscious young star and the reality of his hidden drug use. Raised in the controversial Children of God cult before his family escaped, Phoenix had been acting since childhood and was regarded as one of the most promising talents of his generation. His younger brother Joaquin, who would later become an acclaimed actor himself, was present that Halloween night and made the desperate 911 call as River convulsed on the sidewalk. Inside the club, Johnny Depp was performing with his band while unaware of the tragedy unfolding outside. Phoenix's death sent shockwaves through Hollywood and served as a grim warning about the secret struggles that can lie beneath a seemingly perfect surface. Friends later reported that Phoenix had been clean for months before that fateful night, making his sudden relapse all the more tragic. His unfinished final film, Dark Blood, was eventually completed and released 19 years after his death. Fans and colleagues still ask, how could someone so apparently aware of life's value lose it in such a senseless way? Number 3. John Belushi. Can you really live life at warp speed and expect to survive? John Belushi, the boundary-pushing comedian from Saturday Night Live and star of Animal House, was found dead in a bungalow at the Chateau Marmont Hotel in Los Angeles on March 5, 1982. The 33-year-old comedy icon had died from an injection of a speedball, a combination of cocaine and heroin. Belushi had been on a severe binge, engaging with various drug dealers and hangers-on in his final days. The woman who administered the fatal injection, Kathy Smith, later served 15 months in prison for involuntary manslaughter. Belushi's death shocked Hollywood and the comedy world, as his wild man persona had made his excesses seem like part of the act rather than a deadly addiction. His SNL castmate and friend Dan Aykroyd had been trying to get Belushi to read the script for Ghostbusters, which would become a massive hit the following year with Bill Murray taking the role intended for Belushi. The comedian's funeral in Martha's Vineyard was attended by many of entertainment's biggest names, with a heartbroken Aykroyd riding his motorcycle alongside the hearse. Belushi's death marked one of the first major celebrity overdoses to receive widespread media coverage in the modern era, forcing Americans to confront the reality of drug abuse among their idols. The question remained, was Belushi's larger-than-life comedy inseparable from the excesses that killed him, or could he have channeled his genius in more sustainable ways? Number 2. Anna Nicole Smith. What happens when the fairy tale turns into a nightmare? Anna Nicole Smith was found unresponsive in her Florida hotel room on February 8, 2007. The 39-year-old former Playboy model and reality TV star died from an accidental overdose of prescription drugs, including at least 9 different medications. Smith's story had all the elements of a modern tragedy. Rising from humble beginnings as a single mother working at a fried chicken restaurant to international fame, she had married 89-year-old billionaire J. Howard Marshall when she was 26, leading to a lengthy inheritance battle after his death. In the months before her own death, Smith had been devastated by the loss of her 20-year-old son Daniel, who had died from a drug interaction while visiting her in the hospital after she had given birth to her daughter Dannylyn. Adding to the circus-like atmosphere, multiple men claimed to be the father of her newborn daughter, with paternity eventually established through DNA testing. Smith's death triggered a criminal investigation and multiple legal cases against her doctors and lawyer companion Howard K. Stern for their roles in providing her with prescription medications. Her slurred speech and disoriented behavior on her reality show had been played for laughs, but in retrospect seemed like obvious signs of substance abuse. The question lingered, had fame itself been the real poison for the small-town girl from Texas? Number 1. Mac Miller. How does a young artist with so much more to give slip away? Mac Miller was found unresponsive in his Studio City home on September 7, 2018. The 26-year-old rapper had died from an accidental overdose of fentanyl, cocaine, and alcohol. Miller, whose real name was Malcolm McCormick, had been open about his struggles with substance abuse, often addressing his demons through his increasingly introspective music. Just a month before his death, he had released his 5th studio album, Swimming, which posthumously earned him his first Grammy nomination. Miller had recently ended a high-profile relationship with singer Ariana Grande, who later expressed her grief and guilt, wondering if she could have done more to help him. What made his death particularly tragic was that the fentanyl-laced pills he took were counterfeit, supplied by dealers who were later charged in connection with his death. Miller had emerged as a thoughtful voice in hip-hop, evolving from the party-focused frat rap of his early career to create more complex, emotionally rich music that dealt with mental health, addiction, and personal growth. His death highlighted the growing fentanyl crisis in America, where even casual drug users face potentially fatal consequences from contaminated substances. Fellow artists like Chance the Rapper, Post Malone, and Thundercat expressed profound grief at losing not just a collaborator but a genuine friend. Fans worldwide were left wondering how many more brilliant young artists would be lost before the entertainment industry takes addiction seriously. Have we learned anything from these tragedies, or are we doomed to watch history repeat itself with new generations of stars?